transgressive, genre-bending, chaotic. No, I'm not talking about that uncle of yours who no longer gets invited to family barbecues. Those are some of the words that Lady Gaga has herself used to describe her 7th studio album, Mayhem. In this video, I will share my thoughts on whether Mayhem is indeed transgressive, genre-bending, and chaotic. Is it a paradigm of hedonistic pop music, or a victim of its own too lofty ambitions? Let's find out. It was recorded at Rick Rubin's Shangri-La studio in Malibu, and Lady Gaga assembled quite the team of producers. Andrew Watt, Circuit, and the preposterously named Gesaffelstein. Do you know, by the way, how Gesaffelstein coined his nom de guerre? Well, it's a mixture of two common household words. Firstly, Gesamtkunstwerk, which, as I hardly need to explain to you, is German. It means total work of art, and it was famously used by the German composer Richard Wagner. The second part of the portmanteau is the surname of the theoretical physicist Albert Einstein, also a native of Germany. Gesamtkunstwerk plus Einstein gives you Gesaffelstein, who is French, and whose real name is Mike. Now you know. Back to Gaga. The album was the result, apparently, on Gaga's part, of some real soul-searching. Let's quote from the lady herself before we take a little taste of the album's 14 tracks in turn. In a Rolling Stone interview, she said that the album leaps from one genre to the next in a way that feels almost corrupt. There are moments where we sonically push the sound to extremes. We'll be the judge of that. And others where everything revolves around love. Ah. The album offers a bit of everything. Like a buffet. It's a complete experience. Ah, a complete experience, a total work of art. Back to the old Gesamtkunstwerk. What a word. I doff my Tyrolean hat to the German neologists of yore. Sorry, back to Gaga. Let's get into track 1. Disease is an excellent opener. It really is. Each part of the song is memorable and distinctive. No section feels dead. It's playing as much of the album is, with two opposing forces, darkness and light. Musically speaking, these forces are sometimes represented by dissonance and consonance, and sometimes by the contrast between major and minor. The song starts with a wordless vocal phrase in the key of B major, floating on top of a bed of synth chords. The third of which, G major, provides a delicious clash with the vocals D sharp at that very moment. This single instance of dissonance, I feel, embodies the song's, and indeed the whole album's, aesthetic. As Gaga has said, she's attempting to deal with chaos in this album. Chaos and love. Disease's melodies and harmonies explore and exploit the keys of B major and B minor, giving it a sort of sweet and salty vibe, very Moorish. To be clear, I don't mean Moorish in the sense of Shakespeare's Othello. I mean Moorish in the sense of how salted caramel chocolate can be Moorish, or how having several large glasses of Chablis once your young children are finally in bed can be Moorish, or so I've heard. On to track 2, Abracadabra. This was the second single from the album. It's faster than Disease, 126 beats per minute if we're counting, compared to the more pedestrian Dalmatian tempo of the previous track. Abracadabra's verse and chorus have an old-school quality to them, maybe 80s or even 90s, a bit camp, a bit Cher-adjacent, I would say. The song actually uses, quite deliberately, a melody from the 1981 song Spellbound by Susie and the Banshees, which must add to its vintage feel. Spellbound, Abracadabra, see the link? The song is written using the Dorian mode, F Dorian, which is a minor mode with a distinctive raised sixth, a major sixth. So we're getting a minor feel with that major inflection here. The Abracadabra refrain, which the song starts with, sounds much more modern, with its pulsating, gyrating synth and its infectious sing-song rhythm. Quite at odds with the verse and chorus, but the juxtaposition does weirdly work. Take a listen to the lyrics of the chorus. Abracadabra, amor una-na, abracadabra, morta ugaga. Abracadabra, abra una-na. In her tongue she said, death or love tonight. Those quasi-Latin words, amor and morta, I feel are meant to add to the sense of magic, of the occult. Amor means, of course, love, and Morta was one of the names of the Roman goddess of death. I think it would have felt more mysterious if Gaga didn't go on to literally translate those words in the final line of the chorus. In her tongue she said, "Death or love tonight." It's as if she's saying, for those of you without an antiquarian knowledge of dead languages, here's a handy translation. Slightly condescending, I feel. And for those of you who don't know what condescending means, it means to talk down to. Also, saying your own name in a song, Morta ou Gaga, I feel is a bit much. It's a bit too promotional, gets in the way of the art. But these are minor quibbles. Abracadabra is another catchy and artistically interesting song. By the way, the word abracadabra is almost 2,000 years old by this point, and is of unknown origin. Isn't that cool? We have no idea of where this most famous of apotropaic words sprang up from. Abra-unana indeed. Track 3, Garden of Eden. This song has a vocal phrase in common with Gaga's 2009 song Bad Romance. The first 4 notes of the chorus span the same catchy melodic shape as the whoa of Bad Romance. Self-plagiarism is not necessarily a bad thing. Is she warning that if you do indeed follow her to the Garden of Eden, it will result in a bad romance? Musically, this song is in a fairly stable E-flat minor, except when she sings, "I'll take you to the Garden of Eden," where it resolves to E-flat major instead of E-flat minor. Yet another example of Gaga messing around with majors and minors. Another example of exploring love and death. The serpent tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden, Eve succumbed, and what resulted? Discomfort and, yes, death for the human race forevermore. Thank you, Eve. Why the stuttering of take? Is it simply to fit the words into the vocal rhythm that Gaga had already devised? Or is there a deeper meaning for the threefold repetition of take? The Holy Trinity, perhaps? The story of Adam and Eve and the serpent comes from Genesis chapter 3, but that seems a fairly tenuous link. At the very end of the song, the music degenerates, any sense of key is lost, and the song experiences its own Edenic fall. Perhaps not quite as potent a song as Disease, the chorus I feel is its weak point. Nevertheless, it's still a decent, dark pop song. Its mixture of religion and sexual imagery is nothing particularly shocking in the year 2025. Of course, Madonna did this 36 years ago, and arguably did it better, with Like a Prayer. J.K. Huysmans wrote a fantastically debauched novel, Là-bas, or The Damned, in 1891, which is almost infinitely more scandalous in how it deals with religion and sexuality. So Gaga is perhaps not quite as transgressive as she thinks. Track 4, Perfect Celebrity. In this song, Gaga explores the concept of celebrity. Lyrically, I think this might be the most interesting song so far. Some of Gaga's lyrics in the previous songs can be a little bland or obvious or cliched, but there are some really interesting ideas here. You say I love you, I disintegrate. We've all felt that, haven't we? The public may profess to love a celebrity, but in the real world they don't even know them at all. Gaga has never met 99.9% of her fans. You may love her or love her music, but the truth is you don't really know her at all. You only know her persona. Her real self disintegrates in response to your love. Another lyric, I look so hungry, but I look so good. There still exists, very much so, a lot of pressure for celebrities, especially women, to look a certain way. Even with the body positivity movement, many women still feel a lot of pressure to be slim. Lady Gaga has spoken publicly about her own battles with anorexia and bulimia in the past. For my money, the most powerful song on the subject of anorexia is the song 4 Stone 7 Pounds by the Manic Street Preachers. 4 stone 7 pounds is the weight below which death is said to be medically unavoidable for an anorexia sufferer. Few songs are darker or more disturbing. The music of Perfect Celebrity isn't particularly disturbing. It revolves around a tonal centre of D. Sometimes we feel this as D major, sometimes as D minor. The other chord choices, F major, B flat major, G major, support both key options, the major and the minor. which means that all 4 songs on this album so far have this major-minor ambiguity about them. Track 5, Vanish Into You. This is the least interesting song on the album so far. Lyrically, it's quite pedestrian. A love story where one person is missing the other. The chorus is particularly uninspired. The verse, actually, I quite like. It has a funky 80s vibe, with some nice guitar and bass work, and some lovely alto vocals from Gaga. But in general, it's forgettable. Track 6 is Killah, featuring Gesaffelstein, that snappily named chap. This one wears its influences on its sleeve. In a word, Prince. It also feels a bit Scissor Sisters, but that's probably because they were also influenced by Prince. It's quite fun, this one. Lyrically, it plays with not religion and sex, like Garden of Eden, but death and sex. There are those themes again, death and love. La petite mort. Boy, you're gonna die tonight, sings Gaga in the chorus. And it contains the glorious line, if I'm hearing this right, gonna make the curtains cream, believe it. Make the curtains cream. The very curtains of the room are going to cream. That's just how potent a lover Gaga is. Or are we talking about curtains of a different kind? I'll leave it up to you, dear viewer, to decide. The whole song revolves around the note B. There are no chords beyond various B iterations, B major, B minor, B7, and some nice B-based bass riffs. That's a lot of Bs. There's a great 8-bit sounding double time breakdown around the 220 mark, with some suggestive moanings in the background from Gaga. Good, harmless fun. Track 7, Zombieboy. Disco funk anyone? Yes please. This song is a tribute to Gaga's friend Rico, better known as Zombieboy, who died in 2018. He featured in Lady Gaga's video for Born This Way. Another fun song. It even features a guitar solo, albeit a very short one. The opening sounds a little too much like Gwen Stefani's Hollaback Girl. Few times I've been round that track. And Gaga sings in Zombieboy, we're about to be up all night. Both feature claps in the background. Few times I've been round that track. We're about to be up all night. Seems like too much of a coincidence. Maybe Gaga was the Hollaback Girl to Rico's Zombieboy. This song goes pretty hard. It's a dance floor filler, for sure. My only complaint is that about 2/3 in, it suddenly gets all emotional and schmaltzy with some obvious chord choices and obvious vocal melodies. But thankfully that's short-lived, just a 20-second blip in an otherwise masterly piece of disco funk. If you're still watching by this point, I salute you. And you might like to know that this video is part of my Good Art, Bad Art series. It's episode 27, I think. In this series, I explore various songs, albums, compositions of any genre, and try to figure out whether they're examples of good or bad art. Sometimes I do viewer-selected episodes, so please let me know what I should discuss next. And if you're enjoying this, please do hit that subscribe button. Thank you. Track 8, LoveDrug. Here's a concept that should perhaps have been left on the cutting room floor. There are so many songs comparing love to a drug, back to Roxy Music's Love is the Drug from 1975, and I'm sure other songs before that as well. The chorus goes, I don't want to feel, I don't want to cry, so I'm going to dance until I feel all right. So it's ostensibly a song to dance to, but it's a bit down-tempo, it's a bit, honestly, boring. And the music doesn't rescue the song from lyrical purgatory. It's a real downer, which I think is probably what Gaga was going for. But even so, downer songs can be much more musically and lyrically interesting. Let's move on. Track 9, How Bad Do You Want Me? With the U stylized as the letter U. Aren't we over that now, all these deliberate misspellings? If you're 13 years old, fine. Enjoy your quasi-rebellious misspellings. But for us adults, can't we move on and spell things correctly and let our words be rebellious, not the spellings? While we're at it, where's the question mark? How bad do you want me is a question, surely. Where's the goddamn question mark? The spelling of that U and the missing question mark are, I'm afraid, harbingers of the quality of the song in general. It's lame, it's weak, it's hackneyed, it's lowest common denominator. Listen to these lyrics. 'Cause you like my hair, my ripped up jeans. You like the bad girl I got in me. What's the point of another song like this, honestly? Including one of the album's rare swear words. "You're so fucked up with your crew" doesn't make it cool. I don't usually advocate track skipping on albums, but I would skip the previous track and this one. Track 10, Don't Call Tonight. As we reach this point in the album, it really is becoming obvious that the songwriting is taking a turn for the worse. The first 7 songs are largely excellent, but I do feel like Lady Gaga is losing her way here. The music is a lot more predictable, the lyrics are dull, the songs are lacking soul, they're lacking a distinctive quality, they're lacking that exploration of death and love, of darkness and fun, that the first half of the album took on with such aplomb. Moving on. Track 11, Shadow of a Man. Finally, we get a little respite from the inanity of tracks 8 to 10. Here we have some influence from perhaps Michael Jackson and definitely the Bee Gees. The chorus has some welcome swagger to it and some compelling vocal harmonies. The verse isn't quite as strong, but we have to enjoy what little tidbits we can by this point in the album. Track 12, The Beast. I don't know what it is, but these latter songs just suck. The Beast, you'd think, with a title like that, would be a powerful, snarling, animalistic romp. But no. It judders forward slowly and with infinite boredom. More like a dying rabbit, really, than a priapic man-beast. It just sucks. I'm sorry, but it does. Track 13, Blade of Grass. Okay, something of a little more interest here. It opens refreshingly with just vocals and piano, and the vocal melody often clashes deliciously with the underlying chords. The chorus at first seems to suggest it will follow a well-worn pop music chord progression, but thankfully and effectively, the 5th chord in this sequence, that we'd usually expect to be minor, is actually, and brilliantly, major. C-sharp major instead of C-sharp minor. And Gaga's vocals follow this pattern to the note E sharp, rather than the usual E natural. Finally, we've returned to the toying with major and minor that characterised the first half of the album. Later in the song, at the end of the bridge, we also hear an unexpected chord in relation to the key. The key is E major, the chord we hear, G major. Nice. And this also transforms into G minor, as the song changes key into F major for the final chorus. One of the few true key changes on the album, Gaga does this classic thing of making the music rise up by a semitone for the final chorus. But here, rather than it feeling cliched, it actually works really well because of the interesting and smart way she got there. The final track is Lady Gaga's collaboration with Bruno Mars, Die With a Smile, whose title comes straight out of the James Bond playbook, doesn't it? It starts with a reverb-drenched electric guitar strumming an A major 7 chord, the same chord the song ends with. It comes full circle. I do love the electric guitars and the bass in this song. The drum sound for me is a little bit of a letdown. They sound a little too polished, a little too processed, and they do sound programmed. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I would prefer it if they sounded a little bit more live. I think it would suit a ballad such as this. The vocal performances, however, it must be said, are exemplary. You can't fault either singer. Total pros. What's the song about? Well, Die With a Smile is a classic love duet, exploring the enduring power of love, enduring even when death comes a-knocking. If the world was ending, I'd want to be next to you. This theme of love conquering death is an echo back to track 2, Abracadabra, with its mortar, death, and amour, love themes. There's a lovely minor and major moment in Die With a Smile, about 2 minutes in, where the harmony changes from minor to major on the line, I'm gonna love you every night like it's the last night, like it's the last night, which to me symbolises the fact that love will indeed triumph over death, at least in this song. The chorus chords follow a fairly common pattern, chord 2 to 5, and then not 1, as might be expected, but 3 to 6. This is the same pattern, by the way, as in the pre-chorus to the excellent song Love on Top by Beyoncé, and it's featured in many other songs. Die With a Smile does make your heart swell in your chest, I admit it, and it's an excellent album closer. So, what's the verdict? Well, as you will have guessed, I think about half of the songs on this album are really excellent. They're artistically compelling pop songs, exploring the themes of death and love, which really is more common a theme in opera than in pop music. Yes, pop music deals with love all the time, but it doesn't that often cover death. But half of the songs are dull, pedestrian, colour-by-number songs of the most bland and predictable variety. It's sort of strange how Gaga can be so fantastic and distinctive in one moment and so utterly forgettable in the next. Maybe in trying to have too broad an appeal, she's writing down to her audience? Who knows? The 3 words I started this video with, transgressive, genre-bending, chaotic, those 3 words that Gaga used herself to describe the album, do they ring true? Not really, no. There is not much in the way of chaos in this album. It's meticulously crafted, actually, and it's not transgressive in the slightest, perhaps only in the very mildest way that a broad audience won't be offended by. Is it genre-bending? Again, no. It's mostly pop, electro-pop, with some influences from disco, funk, ballads, but it doesn't leap from one genre to another in a corrupt way, like Gaga said, like the music of, say, Mike Patton does. As an album, then, it's not an example of great art. Individual tracks do rise to impressive levels, but as a whole, it has too many weak points, especially in the latter half of the album. To score it out of 100, then, I give it a fairly generous 65. Thanks for watching, please subscribe, and let me know what I should discuss next. Goodbye.